Okay. I guess we're live. I suppose you're wondering what am I doing at midnight? Because it is 12:08. But since Eli doesn't sleep anymore, I might as well make some videos at night while he's up watching Angry Grandpa. Yeah, not an endorsement. Angry Grandpa's got some anger issues and language issues. But I wanted to chat with my AP folks. So that's what this video is going to be for. I'll post it on Classroom. I see I have 2 viewers, but I doubt if it is my AP students, go to bed. Crying out loud, what are you doing up so late? But if you want to watch, go ahead. And I'll do like one of those other YouTube people, like, hey, like and subscribe below. Make comments. I'm new at this. But I wanted to talk about the worksheet or the quiz I gave you for AP just the other day, where we did the relationship questions. IP's here. All right. You're not an AP anymore, man. You don't have to watch. But what I had you guys do for the quiz was on relationship questions. So I gave you 3 terms. You had to explain how the terms relate. So I'm going to go through those, or at least some of them in depth more than others. And then you can kind of gauge how you did. I'm going to grade that and put the scores up tomorrow. But for now, I thought we'd go through it. Virtual representation, patriot movement, enlightenment. I've got an AP alum here in Isaiah. Maybe he knows the answer. But what I'm looking for in this one, virtual representation was what the British claimed the Americans had in Parliament and said, oh, yeah, we care for you because, we have business interests in America. So, of course, we're going to make good decisions that help Americans. The Patriot movement was Americans going, you don't care for us. And we want, to start thinking about independence. And the Enlightenment was a time period where it brought in new ideas about government and rights of the people and the rights of man, John Locke and so on, right? And so all those kind of fit together as ideas or events that brought the Americans closer to revolution. The British weren't really thinking about us. We started planning or thinking about maybe we should go and be independent. It's the Patriot movement. And the Enlightenment sort of threw in all these other questions about how government should be responsive to the people. And it's you only really have government for the consent of the governed. All those sort of start to lead us into saying, hey, let's declare independence. And then I piggyback off of that for the next one. So we don't really need to necessarily go through that again. Ben Franklin, Enlightenment, and Declaration of Independence. Okay, Ben Franklin was kind of our best known Enlightenment thinker in America, right? Or soon to be America. And the Declaration of Independence has a lot of those ideas from the Enlightenment in it. Thomas Jefferson being heavily influenced. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 kind of covers some ground. Declaration of Independence, Articles of Confederation, and Constitutional Convention. Right? What was I going for here? Well, once we declared independence, our first form of government was under the Articles of Confederation. But because that didn't work out that well, it gave the states lots of power, but the federal government was very weak, very ineffective. So they called for a constitutional convention to amend the articles, but decided, let's scrap the whole thing and start over. So if you had something along those lines, that's what I'm going for. Number 4, Virginia Plan, New Jersey Plan, Great Compromise. All you juniors in AP who are currently in U.S. government should know this one, no problem, right? Not. But Virginia plan, big states, wanted what? I'll let you think about it for a second. For representation, how they wanted to determine representation was population, because they had lots of people. It's like, hey, let's determine representation by the population. The small states were like, wait, well, that's going to screw us over. That's not fair. So New Jersey, the great state of New Jersey, said, you know what we should do is we should have equal representation, creepers, not based on population. Each state gets the same amount of representatives. And that leads to that great compromise, which throws them both together. Bicameral, 2 houses, right? The Senate being determined is by each state having 2 representatives or 2 senators, and the House of Representatives is determined by population. So that's kind of how that all fits together. That one's kind of an easier one, I think, when it comes to the fitting it all together. For number 5, I have ratification, Federalist Papers, and Bill of Rights. Once the Constitutional Convention was over, they wanted to ratify the Constitution to try and convince people to support it. They wrote, by they, I mean, who's that? John Jay. That one guy there's a big musical about or something, right? Alexander Hamilton. He was one of the authors of the Federalist Papers. But they were trying to convince everyone that this is the best thing to do. This is great stuff. This is the best thing before sliced bread. And to kind of really convince everyone to join on, because some complaints about the Constitution, well, it doesn't directly state what rights are protected. We want a direct declaration of rights. So the first 10 amendments were added. We often refer to those as the Bill of Rights to make everybody happy. Of course, not everybody's happy, but you get the idea. Okay, so that's how those 3 fit together. Number 6, Federalists, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson. I could really do an odd one out on this one. There's an assignment I give once in a while. It's called odd one out. Which one doesn't really fit? In this case, it'd be Thomas Jefferson, right? The Federalists, the main architect of the Federalist plan. I know Washington was the president and all, but Hamilton was the guy that really came up with the goods. Again, that's why we sing about him. Aaron Burr shoots him, but that's another story. But he comes up with the plan. The Federalists carry it out. Thomas Jefferson was the main opposition to that plan. And that's a big part of period 3 was that first political system, party system, where we see the competing ideas, right? The Federalists wanting industry, more city-related, okay, commerce, trade, etc. Thomas Jefferson and some called Democratic Republicans wanted the independent farmer. So the way to truly be independent was to have people that didn't owe anything to anyone. They have their own farm, they raise their own food, they take care of themselves, don't owe bills, they don't need to trade, they've got their stuff. So the 2 competing systems start to show up. Jefferson favored more power to the states. The Federalists, by name, of course, preferred the stronger federal government. So that's the first political party system. That's kind of where that one's leading you, I hope. Last but not least, number 7, XYZ Affair, Whiskey Rebellion, John Jay Treaty. All somewhat failures or problems that the first administrations had to deal with. Not necessarily failures. John Jay Treaty was widely considered a failure. The XYZ Affair was a mess. But the Whiskey Rebellion wasn't considered a failure. It was Washington putting down a rebellion over taxes. That's one of those examples that always comes up for period 3 that shows the difference between the Constitution and the Articles, right? What's the big thing that for period 3 that they point to that says, well, this showed how weak the federal government was under the articles. And people are going to be like, it's Bacon's Rebellion. No, it's not Bacon's Rebellion. It's the other one, Shays' Rebellion. Shays' Rebellion was the one where the farmers were storming the bank saying, you're not going to take my farm. These states had a hard time dealing with it. They could not, the militia wasn't like quick to respond. The federal government couldn't do much about it. Points out the weak federal government. Where the Whiskey Rebellion, under the Constitution, George Washington's president, he personally gets on a horse, leads the army out there, and they're like, shows up in Western Pennsylvania, and they're like, what rebellion? Do you hear about a rebellion? There's no rebellion here. You must be misinformed. That shows the strength of the new federal government. At least that's what we're supposed to tell you. Okay? So they're not all failures. It's just that they show some of the policies, the problems, the things that the first administrations really had to deal with and sort of trying to figure out who they were. Okay? XYZ affair was when talking about him trying to make a deal, and the French were saying, we want a bribe. They didn't say that, I'm sure. It's not like I said, give me a bribe, here's my money. But we didn't want to name them, to dishonor them, so we call them X, Y, and Z. That actually shows a rift between the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans, because the Federalists were more British friendly, the Democratic Republicans like the French, and it made the French look bad. And John Jay Treaty was trying to end impressment and basically gave up everything and got nothing accomplished. So these are all kind of early attempts at us to deal with our new powers as a country. All right. So I know I got kind of long-winded. We're up at 12 minutes here, and it's midnight. It's, I don't know what time it is. It's too late. But I just wanted to, while I had the minute or 2 or 12, talk to you about that assignment. So we're going to start with period 4 very soon, the review AP history, folks. I'm also posting the APUSH official version of that on Classroom. It'll be about 35, 40 minutes, so a little bit longer than this one. But if you want to watch that, it's live tomorrow for period 3. It's Thursday would be period 4. So I will post those links on Classroom as well. But good night. Get some sleep. That one person that's watching me, thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow.